Right, the button says I'm live. So how are you all? Good to see you. Um, I didn't expect to see this many people here, but hello. Good to see everyone. Thank you for coming here and joining me. As you can see, navigating the toolbar up there. The sleuth that I am. So good Wednesday. I thought I would do a show more in the afternoon for a lot of our listeners on the other side of the world, and then a lot of viewers I know from Europe and Britain. So good afternoon. Hello, Davy. Hello, how are you? So hello, Claudette, Saturn. How is everyone? So this is kind of like a down week for me in my business. There ain't nobody there. So I couldn't think of anyone else I'd love to hang out with than you folks. So thank you for stopping by and let's talk. So I wanted to share some things with you. Check this out. We always talk about how our reality is an illusion. I think we can have good reason for that. So I want to start out with something. All right. So what? There's 27 people talking. Cool. All right. So all of you that are here, I want you to think of a number. Don't tell everyone else. Just write that number down if you can. All right. Now, double the number. Whatever that number is, just double it. Right. So I'll let everyone do that. Hello, Catherine from snowy, frigid, sub-central BC. I bet you are freezing your muttlocks off. All right. So you thought the number, you doubled it, add 6 to that number, right? Whatever it is, divide it in half, whatever that number is. Now subtract your original number that you wrote down, and your answer is 3. Hello from Milky Way from Tennessee. I was just looking at your video. I just wrote you back. Finally warmed up to 5 degrees outside Chicago. It's an illusion, but pain still hurts. No doubt, Seven Serpents. No doubt it does. So I was thinking about this, how we're living in a really fast changing world. And last night, great program, by the way. I have to say, the response from all of you were just outstanding. It could have been, in fact, I tell you, it could have been a PhD course in humanity. It was just phenomenal conversation, very upbeat, very thought provoking, and high five to everyone on that. So, going through the headlines, right? Just, I was like, okay, what's new in our world that's making things really weird? All right, so Carol sent this to me. I believe it was Carol that sent this. Physicists declare the future might be influencing the past. Folks, if that isn't mind coitus, I don't know what is. I mean, this can get you into so many different conundrums. And it really is this whole thing with quantum physics. I mean, let's just be real candid with everybody here. Does anybody really understand quantum? And you can't see it, but apparently we got computers that think it. Anyway, so if you go with quantum, the quantum exists, and we know it does. I mean, just when I was, I guess I was 6 years old. Yeah. I was an interesting child. All right. Enough with the wise comments. We were all interesting children. Let me just say it that way. But I can remember many times sitting in the den We lived in Santa Clara, and this was 1961. And I can remember my grandfather. My dad was in the Air Force, so we were living with our grandparents. And I would sit there and I could close my eyes and I could see shapes that would go to what I now know is infinity. In fact, I could immerse myself so much into it. Many times my grandparents thought I was, daydreaming, but I was just really wrapped up into this. So, anyway, this gets weird. Time. Now, we all think that time is linear on a straight plane, but we now know that that's not true. We know that time can have ripples in it, which really gets things scattered. If you can experience a ripple in time, what does that do to your timeline? Remember that video I did? Still getting comments to this day. Can a person's timeline be altered? I got to tell you what, that invoked a lot of cognitive dissonance. That's the only way I know how to say it. It really did. It got some people really wrapped around the axle, so to speak. But anyway, so, time, there's another theory that says time doesn't exist unless there's an observer to witness it. It's the conundrum that if a tree falls in a forest, does it make a sound? So apparently, we know that this has some foundation to it, that if you look down on the on a particle, how a particle can be both a particle and it can be an element. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, the phone still goes off. So anyway, I thought all of my business associates were off work. Anyway, this gets a little weird because it says that the time will come when we will be able to master time. Now, if that time will come when we can master time, is there a time already in which time is being mastered upon us? That's what I think about. I mean, just the fact that if we can think it, as we saw last night, those gods don't like it when they knew that we could think it and it would happen. It would actually come to pass. So this one is a really bizarre one. How about this one? Now, I got to tell you what, red flags all over the place on this one. Genetic-based dating apps works to find true love using your DNA. So let me tell you where my thought goes when I heard this. Been in the business most of my life, my adult working life. You want to talk about people being able to hack your life? You start getting your DNA out there. You start getting programs that begin to interact with your DNA. How much longer do you think it will be before you have syndicates? You got rogue hackers out there that could literally hack your DNA. This has got, but mark my word on this, this is going to be a huge success because let me just tell you, on the front side, if, and this is just a what if scenario, if I was selling this before a group of investors, this is what I would probably position the value prop on. That the fact that this app will be the most safest dating app in the world. And this is why. Because anyone who signs up for our particular app, we will have their DNA. If there's ever an issue of, let's say, sexual impropriety of any kind, we got your DNA. You see where this goes? I mean, in one hand, it's a pretty safe assurance if you think about it. Anyone that you're going to date, their DNA is in the database. The problem is that when you have privateers, individual private corporations that begin to collect DNA that are not under any restraints. Do you know that there are no federal laws dictating the collection, the storage, the ownership of DNA? None. There's no safeguards. There are no regulatory agencies. So right now, this is the Wild West, and we're talking about people's DNA. They're not getting it. They think that this is cool. As I said, I just gave you a what-if scenario. Dating safety. Think about this. You know, in this day of litigious litigation, you know, this could be a great defense for you, or could be a great evidence. But I think you can see where I was going on this, right? All right, this one really gets weird. Well, apparently the sex bots are, and I won't play this because I don't want to have a potential copyright strike, but you can see it's in the New York Post. Folks, this isn't some sick fantasy of individuals who are introverts or have weird fantasies. Of course, I say they're weird. It could be very normal to other people. So anyway, let's put it in context. But the apparent thing is that apparently people are flocking to this technology. Won't be long, won't be any more interactions. You know, remember the song back in 1968, Zagier and Evans, in the year 2525, you won't pick your child anymore. It'll actually pick it from a tube. Well, I think that's coming to pass. Here's one. Russian plans national biometric database starting next year. So, and by the way, it's here already. We were working on this, years ago in the fintech industry. But they're rolling it out as part of their new their financial network for all their FIs, their financial institutions. So, you know, Microsoft is coming out with a new product in their next version of no more passwords. You'll never have to worry about a password ever again. Why? They're going to use biometrics. Won't be long where I can actually take your fingerprint on any device where I will be able to get a sample, just a small little millimeter of your dead skin, your epidermis, and I can begin to use that as a security measure. But yeah, so this is how they're going to get everyone to buy and drink the Kool-Aid, is that if you're going to do a financial transaction, you're going to have to take the mark of the beast. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. I mean, you're going to have to give them your DNA. That is the mark, by the way. All right. How about this? How many of you own an iPhone 5, iPhone 6? How many 4s? And you can't figure out why the thing started crapping out on you. Well, we know now. So this will be going around. They get class action status. You'll be contacted if you happen to be or own an iPhone. Yeah. Now, here's one. China snares innocent and guilty alike to build world's biggest DNA base. You think that this is make-believe? Folks, we have entered in a whole different world. When my grandmother passed, she was 99.4 years young. I remember her telling me about my grandfather who actually didn't own a car. Back then, the cars were not that readily accessible. But my grandfather actually had 2 horses and a wagon. That's how they got around. We're talking an exponential leap from what I grew up in. I was born in 1955 to this. The DNA, folks, no escape. Yeah. This is crazy. And you know how they're doing it? Police checkpoints, TSA. I didn't say TSA. I said over in China. Police checkpoints. They're swabbing you. You go into a mall and a shopping center. They're there unannounced. They swab you. That's all it takes. And guess what they're doing this New Year's Eve? Police departments throughout the United States will be taking DNA saliva test at their drunk driving checkpoints. Getting weird. I want to talk about this one. So we live in the United States where they're saying now the unemployment is at a decade low, that stock market's crazy. But I'm telling you, we live in an illusionary world. Apparently, the homelessness is getting so bad in the cities. Look at this, folks. That's Los Angeles. It goes for miles and miles. Here in Denver, we got the same problem. I don't think it's any different in any other major city in the United States. So what's happening? If we're supposed to be in this world where the stock markets, they said that the wealthiest added $1 trillion of wealth in 2017. That's your Facebooks, that's your Googles, that's the rest. $1 trillion added to their net worths. This is like what's going on here? Look at that. I mean, something isn't right. Something's not. Are we living in an illusion? How about this one? I bet you all had forgotten about, I got to get this one for you. Yeah, I'm using the ad blocker. So here we go. Genetically engineered super horses to be born in 2019 and could soon compete in the Olympics. Really? Does anyone else see a disturbing trend in all this? I do. I see a really big problem. How about this one, folks? I tell you all the time, Rex Bear, there's many of us that have been talking about the 5G rollout. I mean, this is Wi-Fi. That's all it is. It's frying us. Now you have ad firms using tools to help them read your mind. So let's just get, in the last 15 minutes, we've talked about what? Time, not being time altering, that genetic apps are now going to be for using DNA. We got world powers, the two biggest that compete with us, Russia and China. And you know the United States is right there. They're not going to allow this to go on. They've been collecting our DNA for decades. You know, I was one of those children that got the polio vaccine. Well, we didn't know what they were doing. They were collecting our DNA. That was back in the 60s. So now you got ad firms that are using, now I've shown you the weapons that they actually have, they can deploy. They can beam a weapon at an individual and cause that person to become a psychopath. It could cause you to have a heart attack. It could cause you to have a brain aneurysm. Put you into a coma. This isn't all conspiracy. So how about this one? The wildfires. Now, do you know that this is the single largest fire ever in the United States? And it's still going on. Now, there's conspiracies all over YouTube and the internet on this, that this is part of Agenda 21. It's part of the mass relocation of the population. I don't know. But they can't seem to get a handle on this one. And then finally, we've got companies now, they want to help us humans, genetically modify ourselves. And you know what? They don't have any shortage of customers. Look at this. Recently made headlines by becoming the first person to use a revolutionary gene editing tool called CRISPR to try to change their own genes. Ay, yay, yay. I don't, you know, where this could be going. I mean, seriously, folks, you start getting young people, hell, I don't think it'd be any age people, with the hope of having no sickness, reversing the aging process, editing my genes to where they never cease dying. They have an infinite ability to self-divide. I take the complete genetic code of my heritage, my ancestry, and I remove those particular genes that I have a probability of developing a certain disease. This is where it's going. We've got the computers that can do it. We've got the technology now. I tell you what, no matter what your attitude or belief is in the Nephilim and the other races prior to us with our memories being wiped out, you see, folks, if we're figuring it out, it means someone else has figured it out. Think about what we have entered into. It's not we're going to, we are. We have entered into the next evolution of the Homo sapiens. We're witnessing it right now. Probably in the next 30 years, I will be able to go in and completely rearrange my genes, and most likely by then, reverse all the effects of gravity, the radiation that we're exposed to every day that we call aging. Oh, we won't go into this one, but actually we will, because there is this huge industry coming out of China, where apparently it's very big, of growing now body parts. Now, there is some weird stuff happening all the way around on this. So I'll stop on the share of that one. Um, so anyway, I don't know. I've just seen some of these comments and went, well, that's colorful language. So the point is that we do live in this illusionary world, and our minds can be so easily, uh, oh, really, Davey, that is really interesting. Wow. I mean, is anyone else seeing this? It's like when you start condensing all of these stories and you start, literally congealing them together. I mean, this is like one of these oh crap moments because it's going so freaking fast. I mean, we've had GMOs, here in the United States, and I don't know about the rest of the world, but we're getting it. I mean, I said that last night, we're going to do a show on cancer. Folks, in the last 2 days, a number of people that we know, cancer, young cancer. What is wrong with that? What is up with that? It's got to be environmental. And is it that the chemtrails, is it that what they put in our water? I don't know. But it's obviously that genetic modification has been ongoing. I don't get it. I get enough to see that I know this. Apparently, we can be very easily tricked. Y'all remember this video I did? It's been a little while ago. And it dealt with how things can become so illusionary, how we can now manipulate matter, take other fluids and make art forms out of them by magnetism, by frequency, by harmonics. And our mind, what's amazing is that we live in a 2D world, but our mind brings everything into a 3D world. We're going to talk more about this. Thursday night, I got a special guest coming on. We're going to be talking a little bit more. But I wanted to go through this and show you how easily we can be deceived. Your eyes can't be trusted because we begin to see on these type of illusions our individuality of our existence. I mean, we all share the same spatial three-dimensional plane. What, you don't have bad eyes? How about this one? I'll let this one go for a little bit. Let me hide the video panel. There we go. All right. So check this out. How many of you can read this? You're probably going to have a difficult time. But see, right now, I can read it like I'm reading a paragraph. Odd, isn't it? And I'm trying to point out, and what gets me, because I love doing this, I love looking at myself and realizing how freaking awesome my mind is. That's my soul, my spirit. It's not my brain. My brain is just the mechanical bio machine that allows me to express. Isn't that weird? How you can read that? It's strange. I know. All right, I got some others here I want to show you. Now, a lot of people have a hard time dealing in this type of artistry, but there are figures in there. I heard one person say, what do you want me to go cross-eyed, Steiger? But if you stare at these, and a lot of times it does take 2 or 3 or 4 minutes sometimes to get your mind and your brain to be able to sync this, because it'll go into infinity. And it just depends on what your perspective is. Now, there are people who are colorblind who will see something completely different. And then there are those who have, stigmatisms that would prevent them from that. And then we've had these individuals like MC Usher that they had the ability to live, I think, and see in multi-dimensions. I'm just going to go through some of these because it tells me we haven't even begun yet. But I think we're getting there. I think something's opened up to our whole species that is allowing now perceptiveness in such different perspectives. And it's hitting so many people at the same time. I mean, follow this one, folks. Follow the guy. Is he going forward? Is he going backwards? How about that one? Meditate on that a while. So I want to explain this. Maybe some of you know what this is, but begin to stare down, because you see, this is why quantum exists. These are fractals. They're involved in everything. And the fact that we can define them in visually now with the acuity of our eyesight. Now, these are going to be some great experiments. If you're in the cocktail hour, you're really going to enjoy these. So stare right at the center and focus in there for about 30 seconds. Be amazing what happens as it draws you in. All right, this one, move your eyes up and down and right and left. How many black dots do you see? That's a weird one. We get the sense of an alternate perspective. And all it is this black and white. All right, so which one is turning faster for you? This is the particle experiment. No matter which A or B you look at, you're already seeing a particular outcome. How about this one? Which ones do you see moving now? Yeah, it's kind of weird when you can actually begin to start moving your eye quick enough, they all begin to move. How about this one? I mean, if you stare on this one, you'll start seeing colors that will just go off the scale. It's because the mind can't handle it. Can you begin to, if you stare at this one a while, you really get the infinite of death, how you can actually begin to put your hand. Now, if you put your hand up in front while you're staring at that, excuse me, I just changed that. You'll actually see your hand become immersed into the picture. And here, if you move your head or your eye, the picture will move with you. This is another one. Once your eye begins to get adjusted and your perception begins, it becomes a most interesting 3D effect. Here's another one. Now, if you have a tendency to may have a tendency for epilepsy, I wouldn't look at these. Now, this one, stare at the black dot, keep staring. Now, what happens as you begin to see on the outside? And the more you stare at this, the more the movement will take place. Anybody for a time warp? I love these. I mean, this one here. So true, isn't it? All right, so stare at this one. I can see it right now. The secondary object now just becomes automatic, and actually you get really into this, and it really can begin to really spatially, you begin to see multiple planes moving in a synchronicity of movement. It's very weird. How about this one? Pick a spot. All right, repeat the number 6 in your head as fast as possible. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. See, this is what I look at. It's happening to our DNA. Black hole, anyone? All life breathes. If you stare at this one long enough, your breathing will actually become in rhythm to the pulsing of the picture. This is using fractals. Cool, isn't it? I swear, I think in so much, this is what our life is. I look at sometimes in my spirit, I swear this is where I'm at. I'm beginning to get more and more of this feeling that I'm in this body, but I'm also outside of it at the same time. This is me. So the point to all of these is to show you how easily our minds can be tricked. Rather hypnotic, isn't it? Yeah. So as you can see, it's an illusionary world. Just black and white is enough to alter our perception. It's like, good night, Alice. So there you go, folks. Let me get out of here. So how about that? Yeah, for the middle of the day. Yeah, I can hear somebody, but some of it's in the evening. So I just find it very curious that when I can see what it can do on the illusion of just imagery, and then we see the world we're living in. Ay, 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 ay. Oh, well, there's 91 people in here. Well, how are you doing? Thank you for stopping in. I hope that, let's see, one day we will come to a live stream. Well, you know, when you look at those videos long enough, Davey, it'll take you'll actually have, you could potentially have that out-of-body experience. It's where the spirit really begins to ascend. J.R. McKenzie, I'd like to have you on, hear what you have to say on that. How you said you can feel dead people. That's really interesting. Jennifer, how are you doing? Good to see you. Scratch, good to see you. Truth in Life, Sue G, hello. Tanis, good to see you. Michelle, good to see you. T Matrix, good to see you. Skies Above, how are you? So this is fun. Chris, multiple suns. Well, here's a thought. If multi-dimensions exist, and they exist beyond just the mental plane, if they exist in a physical plane, I don't think that we've yet discovered or understand how multiple dimensions can coexist into the same space. And I think that that holds true for the universe as well as it holds true for an individual soul. So when I see these phenomenon of the pictures of multiple objects in the sky, listen, doesn't surprise me. I think that we're, as I said, full disclosure has begun. And if this is a matrix, if this is nothing more than a soul farm or a prison planet, whatever the case may be, I'm convinced that we could be living in an illusion and not even know it. Rod Sterling had the best comment. It was back in Look magazine. Now I'm really dating myself. But in an interview, he said that he would not be surprised that at the moment of our physical death, we wake up in another plane and come to find out this life was nothing more than a dream that we're having. I mean, we all dream. So if it's said that when we die, our life passes before us as a movie, right? That could give strong validity that the fact that you and I, you're writing in here, there's 186 people coming in, that we're all sharing the same space of reality in a dream. I don't think that that's far-fetched. And if we can alter reality, not alter reality, if our reality is altered, wouldn't be surprising for me to see one day a freaking planet in the sky. Listen, if you go to the Thunderbolts Project and you go to symbols of an alien sky, there are records here on Earth that talk about Saturn filling the nighttime sky. I mean, we don't even know how Mercury has gotten into orbit. They released the white paper today. They don't know. Do you know that there is a theory that what they call planetary stacking? And so it's a theory that when the universe or the solar system, and of course it tells you how little we know of our own solar system, that apparently at some cockamamie time, all the planets were moving at such velocity that something caused them to all stack up. And then somehow or another, gravity, and however you want to define gravity, the planets began to set up into their orbit. Really? We don't even know how the moon got here. Now they're saying they don't know how Mercury got there. They know it wasn't formed there. All right. We've heard the same thing about Venus. That Venus was reported in our distant ancestors' past. The stories go that they saw Venus come in as a comet. Could it be that really what we're not being told is that this collision Listen, I got a guest, Steve, coming on Thursday night. We're going to discuss how did we move so quickly in the Milky Way, how our position changed so rapidly to the galactic plane. I mean, these are all things that are happening. I mean, I just went through the headlines and showed you how right now we are altering our existence, our physical existence. We're going to be altering our bodies. Do you know? Think about body modification. If tattoos is an expression of one's inner view of themselves, what do you think is going to happen when I can start modifying my genetics? So I want to become Batman. Can I begin to inject genetic material from a bat into my DNA to give my particular point that I'd like to have, for instance, night vision? Could bald people suddenly become yaks, have more hair than what they could ever help to have? I mean, think where this is going. And it's happening right now. And then we've got all the rest of this coming on. If this isn't one heck of a roller coaster ride, I don't know. I tell you, when we get off it, and that's our point of departure, right? Your individual birthing, they call it death, but you're really just going to be birthed into that. I think the first thing you're going to say when you get over there to everybody else, what a ride. And how much you would bet that no matter how painful this life has been, no matter how sucked it has happened, no matter what, that if you were given the opportunity on the other side to say, you want to do it again? How many would go and say, here I am? So Taker, did you get that? The yak people are coming. I'm sorry, it just hit me. I don't know. I saw or read something about yaks, and and the fact that they have awesome hair. They got good milk too. So, anyway, that's what I keep thinking. I tell you, all of our minds are a wonderful place. They are. And I think with, hello, Norway, how are you doing? No way. Well, you have to admit, at least I can keep you laughing, and I figure it's like this. If you come in and you have a smile and you leave with a smile, then we've done okay, haven't we? Well, I've got to carry on. Y'all can carry on in here. I just want to say thank you all for, just being friends. Thank you for sharing the journey. And thank you for allowing me to share a small part of your journey. Wayne's World is a wonderful place. And in Wayne's World, chocolate is one of the 4 major food groups. So I just want to let you know, it's really a good place to be at. It truly is. I have not heard from Jeffrey Doherty, the Christian whistleblower. I think he's probably heading his way back. Anyway, at 7 o'clock, I'm planning on being over there. If there is anything that should interrupt that, we'll come back over here and we'll continue our discussion and continued being with like-minded and very, very wonderful people. You are great people, and honor and a privilege to have you as friend. All right, my friends, we will talk real soon. Be kind to one another. We're doing this. Listen, we may be in some kind of freaking matrix or soul farm, whatever it is. But I don't know. I think maybe we might got this one figured out, folks. I think some of us, I tell you, I see the chain building. You know what I'm saying? And when you can make me laugh, and if I can return the favor, then I think we've conquered a lot. All right, folks, blessings to you all. Be kind to one another. Do an unseen act of kindness, and I'll guarantee you life will begin to smile upon you. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.